What's happening, fellas? We're on the second floor of the New England Motorcycle Museum, and sometime I say we bring the time machine, that this place is a time machine, and sometimes the time machine comes to us. Today, we're lucky to have a friend of my dad's and a fellow rider from the Clifton, New Jersey area, Sal Scarpa Jr. How you doing, Sal?
Okay, how are you today?
Thanks for coming. And we have his son, Sal Scarpa III, who...
Keeping it in the family.
Amen. If this guy looks familiar, he was at the last 500 shootout and will be here this August 1st for the 500 shootout. And he's also restoring a Cagiva WMX 500. So he bought me an owner's manual, a brochure, and a couple of brake levers and another part that I needed, engine oil. But that's a whole nother story. Sal's restoring some bikes. His dad has some bikes. And if his dad looks familiar, he was on episode 9, show 9 of the American Pickers, because he's got some awesome motorcycles and cars he's been collecting since he's a kid. And to add another little interesting twist to the plot here, he's also Chief Jay Strongbow's little brother, 4-time Hall of Fame inductee, multi-time champion in multiple different wrestling federations, and also one of the longest careers of any professional wrestler. Chief Jay Strongbow wrestled from 38 years total, but in 5 different decades. So quite a background. Tell us a little bit about your American Pickers episode there, and the reverse the curse one.
Well, I sold him the car without the hubcaps, and when I told him I had the hubcaps, he said, "How could you sell the car without hubcaps?" I said, "Well, I bought it without the hubcap, but I have hubcaps for it." He said, "How much are the hubcaps worth?" I said, $2,500. He said, "There ain't no hubcaps worth that kind of money." When they got the car back to Iowa there, they had the guy appraise it, and he said, "Yeah, that's what those hubcaps are worth. They're wanting for 2 years, 59 and 60 on the Cadillacs and the Fleetwoods." And they made a good dollar on it after they got back home there with them.
And they call it reverse the curse because they had been losing money on cars and they made some money on yours, right? Your 1960 Cadillac. Can I show our viewers your hat up close?
Yeah.
This is the Antique Motorcycle Club of America, which I am a Eastern Connecticut ambassador for them, and we host events here. This is the Colonial chapter out of New Jersey, that you are a lifetime member in the AMCA. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So you do some big events down there, don't you? You have a pretty active chapter.
You want to show them some pictures, some of the old
absolutely. You don't have to ask me twice. So Sal, I told you the time machine came to us today. Sal has some really cool pictures. Matter of fact, there's one right there of his brother, Chief Jay Strongbow, sitting on a bumper. And tell us about this one of you jumping this vintage Harley.
That's that 1929 Harley. I forget the thing. I'm jumping that's in Nutley. I'm about 4 or 5 feet off the ground there. That had a sidecar on it. I took the sidecar off. That's the bike.
This is the bike. This is the same model. This one's obviously painted a peach color, but can you imagine jumping that thing that far in the air with no suspension and floorboards? You're a rebel, weren't you? Like your brother Chief Jay, right?
Yeah.
Chief Jay Strongbow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So tell me the story about your mom, and this is you in the driveway of your house that you lived at. You said that your mom actually, you were riding a motorcycle up the driveway there, and something interesting happened.
Yeah, she was walking out of the driveway, and I was driving up the driveway with the motorcycle. So I went to the left, and she moved to the left. And I went to the right, she moved to the right. Then she got mad at me, put her hands on her hip, said, "You Mussolini bastard, what are you doing?"
That's funny. My grandmother used to call my grandfather a cockamamie bastard. So that's when she was mad at him. She'd take her broom out and start beating him. Tell us how your mom branded Chief Jay Strongbow when he was 14.
Oh, that was my sister.
Oh, your sister?
With an iron, the old-fashioned iron they put on the stove.
Yeah.
They heat him on the stove, and he was aggravating her somehow, and she said, "You better get out of here, I'm going to burn you." And he did something. She tattooed him on his arm, And until the day he died, he had that.
Matter of fact, that's where in his arm here, that's where that came from, right?
Where the iron was.
She branded him. Only his sister could get away with that. Any
Yeah,
guy
I
did that
know
to him,
it.
he'd give him a beating of a lifetime, right? So the license plate on your bike here, he was the 65th person in the history of motorcycles to get an antique motorcycle plate, which is kind of cool. And that Sal, he actually made that. That's back, like, he's from the old school era where they made, like, he made the exhaust for this bike. He made
It's got
the
stirrups
back.
on it too.
Where are the stirrups?
The stirrups are, you see right behind my leg.
Oh, okay. That's cool. So that was the last time you and your dad rode bikes together, was that?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, maybe less.
Yeah, has to
about
be.
15. 15.
So you still have your favorite bike, right?
Yeah, I still got it.
1950 Harley Davidson FL.
Yep.
And it's a hot rod too, right?
Well, I juiced it up a little bit, yeah. But, you know, it's everything else. It's original, but I put a lot of stuff on it. I got lights in the front wheel that go around in the front wheel. I got, you know, the half light and moon in the front.
Is this when you bought it new?
Yeah, I just started putting it, and I was 17 there.
Bought it brand new out of the Harley dealer and still owns it today.
That's awesome. So how many guys can say they still have the bike when they were 17 years old? That's why American Pickers caught wind and they had to come check your place out for sure. And you also have a Model A also that's an absolute showpiece. I don't know if you can bring up a picture of that, Sal, but that's pretty cool.
You show them that picture of me jumping with that 29?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Sal.
That's
Just
me and
awesome.
a friend, that's a 41 stroker next to me up there.
That one right there?
Yeah, it's my 1950, and the one next to it is a 41 stroker.
That's pretty cool. And tell us about Cowboy Mickey's.
Yeah, that's a motorcycle club I belonged to years ago in Belleville. Was a local club. Everybody. He was an Indian dealer, Cowboy Mickey.
That's pretty awesome. So here's a picture of his Model A. It's an absolute dime piece. It has every accessory out of the Ford catalog you could possibly get, including the headlight visors. It had a clock in the rearview mirror, and it had dual spare
Side
tires, and it
mounts.
has the suitcase mounts on the side too.
And
The ultimate
it's got
touring
the
machine.
trunk in the back too. There's a trunk in the back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up being the little brother of Chief Jay Strongbow?
Well, when we grew up, he wasn't wrestling yet. You know what I mean?
Did he beat you guys up now and then?
Yeah, we used to. Yeah.
Did he practice on you? On you guys?
How he got started, he was always strong. He used to get a phone book. Back then, the phone books were pretty thick, and rip a phone book. And one of the promoters seen him and wanted to know if he would be interested in getting into wrestling, and then that's how he got going into wrestling. He started in 1956 in Laurel Gardens in Newark.
And all the way up to 1985, I was 20 when he retired, and I was a big WWF
Yeah,
fan.
but he went after that. He was a road manager and stuff with all the wrestlers and stuff too.
He was one of the most beloved wrestlers in the history of WWF, and he had a patented war dance. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, he got that one dance when he put his hand behind him and shake his head from my mother.
Your mom used to do that when she was mad at him, right?
Yeah, she would do that dance.
He figured it was good enough to scare me, and it's going to work to scare these guys. When mom starts doing that, get out of the way.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was good.
The war dance. Now, big wrestling fan myself. Here's Andre the Giant. You can see how massive of a man Andre was. That's Chief Jay Strongbow right there, without his headdress on. But Andre was like the eighth wonder of the world. He was, 7.5 feet tall, and like 400 and something pounds.
Yeah.
He had hands that you could put a beer can in his hands and make it disappear when he closed his hand. His
He
hands were
shake
like,
hands with me and feel like a baby's hand.
yeah, twice as. He's an absolute monster. There's some really good videos on YouTube about him. So, your Chief Jay Strongbow had some patented holds. He had the tomahawk chop, the Indian deathlock, and then what was the sleeper hold?
Yeah, that would put you out.
That's awesome.
You're out of commission then.
So 5 different decades, and he ended his career mentoring Tatanka, who was supposed to take his place as the chief. So very cool. Look him up online. There's some great history here. These pictures will be hung up in the New England Motorcycle Museum. A lot of us motorcyclists are wrestling fans, and here's when he was inducted into one of the 4 Hall of Fames that he's a
In this ring
member
there,
of.
that's his fingerprint with his finger in the air. And that's the year he was born on this side. That's the year he died.
That's awesome. Rest in peace. Guys, sometimes the fickle hand of fate has a way of giving us a chance that we might not have gotten. And you may not even be here today if your dad didn't survive World War I. He was one of 17 guys?
16.
16 guys.
I
Tell us a
came
little bit
back.
about it.
He come back with machine gun bullets in his leg and his arm, and he had mustard gas. But he survived that. When I was a kid, he was in the hospital all the time, and they wanted to amputate one of his legs. He said, "No, I come into this world with 2, I'm going out with 2." And that's what he did. He was a very strong guy.
Wow.
He worked for Thomas Edison before he went into the Army, and we got a letter from Thomas Edison that his job would be there when he gets back from the service.
Wow.
But he was a disabled veteran, so he couldn't get back to work.
So the fighting spirit was passed down to you guys and your brother.
he couldn't work, yeah.
That's just, I mean, you're 83 years old?
No, I'm 86.
86, about to be 87.
Right.
Yeah, and the will to live is strong in your family, passed down to you. And if you didn't make it, then Sal wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be sitting here.
That's right.
But
My oldest brother spent 32 years in the service.
we,
World War II, all the way through. 32 years he spent in the Army, 16 years, and the rest in the Air Force.
this photo here, zoomed in on of you jumping the bike. What year was that?
That had to be in the early 50s.
You were on the cutting edge of off-road riding. Dirt bikes didn't really exist in the United
I
States.
didn't know what a dirt bike was back then.
So you took basically a sidecar rig motorcycle, stripped it down, took the fenders off, and made your own dirt bike.
Yep, that's what I did. Yep.
And you passed that down to your son, because your son's been riding. Well, you've been a big bore rider since the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Show us your KX500 picture at Englishtown.
Oh, there's one with my, if you can see with my dad there, my pit crew
That's awesome. So
at the starting line.
you've been riding big bores for 35 years, and you have a KX500 and a big bore KX540, I think you're building,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And then, of course, the Kajiva WMX 500, which is
Yes.
part of the reason you showed up today. We're restoring one here at the museum, so stay tuned. That video will be coming up soon.
Yeah, that's my next project.
Sal's a big bore guy, so we had to bring him in here and show him the KTM 495, the YZ 490, the CR 500, and Junior's. This is Junior's billet case beauty. These are blueprinted and reverse engineered from the original Honda cases, and improved many ways by AJ Wagoner. Just an absolute work of art. They've got hundreds and hundreds of hours of engineering and programming to build those. That's going to be a beast. We got John Greer's CR 500 right here. We've got a non-service Honda. This one's not a service Honda, but it's an AF conversion. Beautiful 89. Another 89 over there. An AFX, which is the enduro version of the 500, made by AJ Wagoner. That's a really rare piece. AJ confirmed that's one of his.
Wow.
This is my personal steed, my trusty 97 CR, which I seized last weekend. I think I seized it, but I'll get to pull it apart and check it out. And then a 2012 AF 500. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 big bore two-strokes just in this room.
Gotta find one more. The 13 is not a good number.
Yeah, exactly. 14, the lucky number.
I feel faster just standing in the room.
Amen.
This was the whole section that got replaced here.
One. Guys, we're going to wrap it up. Sal and his dad are going to take a ride up to the 4th floor and check out the rest of the museum up there. So there's 4 floors just like this, and we just got an invitation to go down to Sal's place, which was on American Pickers, and he's got a killer collection of motorcycles and memorabilia and parts, so stay tuned. We'll probably sometime later this summer take a ride down and check out your man cave, because
There
it's
you go.
full of goodies.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks again, Sal. We really appreciate you and your son coming down here.
Yeah,
So.
we appreciate what you're doing here to keep the motorcycle things going. Years ago, if you owned a motorcycle, they thought you was a bum, but you proved them different.
Amen. Thanks for coming. Very much grateful for you coming down, and thank you for the photos of your brother, Chief Jay Strongbow. Those will be in the museum here forever. And thanks for coming down, and as always, God bless America.
Okay, yes.